It's now 9:10. We have somebody coming in also. I see two people and I got excited. Okay, good morning. I would like to call the order of the December 2nd, 2020 meeting of the TPA Technical Advisory Committee. The Palm Beach TPA is conducting this meeting both in person and virtually using the Zoom webinar platform. The TPA selected this platform because it does not require the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to attend this meeting. The public will have no discernible differences of their ability to watch of the meeting or that of someone physically attending the meeting. Instructions to join this virtual meeting, as well as the contact information for the TPA staff member to assist you, are provided on the published meeting agenda. Before we begin, I will summarize our public comments procedure for the virtual meeting. Written comments may be submitted online at the website provided in the agenda. Verbal comments may be made by a virtual attendee using the raise hand feature in the Zoom platform. And then lastly, a verbal or written comment may be submitted by an in-person attendee submitting a comment card available at the welcome table outside. So at this time, can we please have roll call so we can establish a quorum?
My apologies, Madam
No,
Chair.
I try to speak slowly, so.
So I could walk back to my chair. Okay, so Will Hicks or Gary Sypek. Modisum Alturk.
Present.
Steve Anderson. Terrence Bailey. Jim Bell. Jamie Brown. Lorraine Cargill. Natalie Crowley.
Mike Morrow for Natalie.
Wen Dang.
Here.
Brian Davis.
Present.
Kim Delaney. Thomas Driscoll. Alex Hansen. Aaron Hoffman.
Present.
Kara Irwin Ferris. Here. Andrew Mack. Maher Mansour. Christopher Marsh. Michael Odell.
Here.
Richard Pereira.
Here.
Richard Reed. Maria Tahara. Kenny Wilson. John Crane.
Here.
And Madam Chair, I did make an error on the number of members on my list. We do have a quorum present in person, not including John Crane, who's non-advisory.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to number 1B. Are there any request modifications to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I'm going to take my mask off so it's clear for everyone. Madam Chair, pursuant to state law, a quorum of the TAC must be physically present at the advertised meeting site in order to conduct the meeting and take action as a body. However, the Florida Attorney General has previously opined that so long as a quorum is physically present at the meeting site, additional members may participate remotely, provided that they have a significant circumstance that justifies their absence, with significant circumstance being reasonably determined by the physically present members. I have a few members that have provided a brief explanation of the significant circumstance preventing their in-person attendance. I will read aloud each one of them so that the committee may determine if the member will be admitted into the meeting as a virtual participant. Please note that voting members approved to participate remotely will be enabled to participate in debate, and also that they must vote unless they have documented a conflict of interest on a particular item. So going through the list in order of how I printed it, no particular order, I have Jamie Brown. He said, with the numbers being what they currently are, I'm still attending meetings virtually from my office and have not been attending anything in person. I would appreciate a link for tomorrow's meeting so that I can participate. And I do need the majority, well, all of the members in the room, because it's the quorum, to either allow or deny his entry as a virtual participant.
Okay. So at this time, does anybody have any objection to Jamie Brown attending the meeting virtually? Seeing none?
Okay.
Okay, so Jamie is admitted.
Next, I have Alex Hansen. He said, through this email, I would like to request the TPA TAC approval to participate remotely in the December 2nd meeting. I am a single parent who has custody of 2 elementary school children who are attending school virtually. Because of my children's virtual schooling, I have been working remotely since last March. As a result, it will not be possible for me to physically attend the December 2nd TAC meeting, prompting my request to participate in the meeting virtually in order to attend to my children.
Does anybody have any objection for Alex Hansen to participate virtually? Okay, seeing none, Alex Hansen is permitted.
The next one is from Christopher Marsh. If possible, I would like to attend remotely. I have family members with underlying health issues.
Does anybody have any objection to Chris Marsh attending virtually? So seeing none, Chris Marsh is permitted virtually.
Jim Bell, I will not be able to attend the December 2nd meeting in person, but would like to participate remotely. The reason for the request to participate in the meeting remotely is that the city of Boca Raton prohibits me from attending such meetings in person.
Does anybody have any objection for Jim Bell? Okay, seeing none. Jim Bell's virtual.
Okay, and I will skip ahead to Maria Tahara. She also is a representative from the city of Boca Raton, and her reasoning was consistent that the city does not allow staff to attend in-person meetings.
Does anybody have any objection? Okay, seeing none, Maria Tara is virtual.
I have Joyce Kai from the school district. She said, we are still working remotely, and I was directed by my supervisor to attend the meeting virtually.
Does anybody have any objection? Okay, seeing none.
Oops. Next, I have Kwan Yan. Oh, I'm sorry, she is an alternate. Additionally, I have, just going through, I have Terrence Bailey. His reasoning is, I have a pre-existing health condition making me more vulnerable to severe impacts due to COVID.
Does anybody have any objection to Terrence Bailey's? Okay, seeing none, Terrence is permitted virtually.
And Madam Chair, those are the only participants that I see, that I have received an email from. And I'm also looking through the attendees list, and I don't see any other TAC members listed.
Thank you. So we can move on to item 1C. Are there any changes to the meeting minutes at this time? No comments from anyone in the room. Is there any comments from virtual participants?
I do not see any hands raised. Madam Chair, if you can please bring your microphone closer. Thank you.
You're welcome. If not, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes from October 7th, 2020.
Okay, motion by Kara, second by Kim. All in favors, please say aye.
Aye.
Can we call
Aye.
the virtually?
Aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Okay, minutes approved. Are there any general comments that's been received at this time?
No, Madam Chair, and I just want to check the attendees list to make sure that there's nobody there. No, Madam Chair, no general public comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any comments at this time as the chair. We'll wait till the end of the meeting. And then if there are any committee members that has comments for the committee in the room first, and then we'll go virtually if they need to raise their hands. Okay, I don't see any in the room. Any virtual comments?
I do not see any hands raised, Madam Chair.
All right, great. So moving on to item 1F, I invite Andrew to review the liaison report.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all in person, and I'm enjoying all the sweaters as well. So I'm just going to go through the liaison report quickly. And as a reminder for those participating virtually, this is going to be available after the meeting on the TAC website. So if there's any links on here that you want to look at later, you can always go on there because we're going to be going pretty quickly through this part of it. So a few updates, TPA committee census update. So we're doing this for all of our committees to track the race, sex, and age to provide diversity analysis in accordance with state statutes. So if you have not done it yet, please fill out the survey for us. Right now we're at 31 out of 48 responses, so we appreciate those who have already submitted. We'd like to get this done by the end of the year. So if you can, try to fill it out. Next, we have the Southeast Florida Transportation Summit. That's going to be hosted by the Fort Lauderdale Chamber. That's happening on December 9th, 2020. To discuss South Florida's future transportation vision. So if you want to register for that, the website link is there. There's a draft Florida Transportation Plan policy element that is posted for review and public comment through December 13th, and you can view that at their floridatransportationplan.com website. We're having FDOT's having a product development and environmental meeting on the I-95 at Lantana Road intersection. In Lantana, there's going to be 2 days of it. There's going to be a virtual meeting held on December 15th, and then an in-person meeting held on December 16th at the Lantana Road Public Library. Next, our December TPA Governing Board meeting will be held on December 17th at 9 a.m., and this will be, again, both in person and virtually. And then one important one I really wanted you guys to pay attention to is we are expected to have January meetings this coming January. We typically take January off. But this year we're going to be having a January meeting. The TAC one is going to be scheduled for January 13th at 9 a.m. And the main reason we're having this meeting is really during this December meeting, we typically have the draft tentative work program from FDOT made available to us for review. And then we provide feedback on that to FDOT. Due to the economy and changes in the revenue stream, central office was a little bit later in getting the districts the amount of revenue available for the work program. So the district is now allocating and reprogramming projects in the work program for our district. So that's why they're a little delayed on that. So we're expecting to get that draft tentative work program soon, and staff will review it, and then we're going to have it all ready for you all, hopefully at the January meeting. And the last one I want to mention was the Safe Street Summit for 2021. It's going to be held virtually this year, January 28th to 29th. Early registration ends December 18th, and the last day to register is January 22nd, 2021. And the other ones are just some other updates so you can read at your own leisure about grant opportunities and a pedestrian bicycle safety survey by FDOT. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, we're moving to item 2, action items. It's that time of the year. We're not gonna be nominating, open the floor for nominations for the chair of the 2021 calendar year. Nominations do not require a second, but it's not out of order to second a nomination. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for anybody virtually or within the room to make their nominations.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a nomination to maintain the existing status quo with you as the chair and Mo as the vice chair into 2021, since 2020 wasn't, the best year. Although I think everyone's done a fantastic job, and with the virtual, would like to maintain the status quo moving forward for 2021.
Are there any other nominations? Virtually? Are there any nominations at all?
I don't see any hands raised, Madam Chair.
Okay. I would like to nominate Kara as chair, because I would really like 2021 to see just a different in the chair and the different in discussion points that's coming out of the TAC. That's my nomination.
I do have that Alex Hansen has his hand raised.
Okay. Alex?
You will need to unmute on your side, Alex.
Alex, please unmute yourself.
Oh, Alex, I'm not sure if you're calling in from a phone number, perhaps. If you're calling in from a phone number, if it is a 561-729 number, I have allowed you to speak, but you will need to unmute it on your end.
*7, right?
I believe so.
On a phone. If you're on a phone, I believe it's *7.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, hi. I would like to second Kara's nomination by Wen.
Okay. So we have 2 nominations on the floor. Are there any other nominations? Okay. How do we do this? We vote one by one?
Yes, we will do a roll call, and if the members virtual, I will need you to unmute. And the ones in person, if you can just make sure your microphone's on, and if you can just say either Wen or Kara as your vote.
Okay. So why don't we start virtually first?
Okay,
Thank you.
you're adding another challenge to
I'm
me,
sorry.
but it's okay.
I'm very sorry.
It's all good. We can make it work.
All part of 2020.
It is. So Terrence,
I'm sorry. I
it's okay.
wasn't paying
So you're
attention for half a
either
second. What are we
voting
voting on?
for Wen as the chair or Kara as the chair.
Since Wynn has pretty much indicated she'd rather Kara than herself, I'll go with Wynn's recommendation of Kara.
Jim Bell,
Wen?
Jamie Brown,
Same reason that Terrence just gave. It seems that Wynn is looking to exit. So I'll put my vote on Kara as well.
okay. Sorry, bear with me while I go through the list here. Alex,
Kara.
Christopher Marsh,
Kara.
Joyce Kai,
Kara.
Maria Tahara,
Kara.
and I believe I have all of the virtual ones. If I missed you, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I will move forward with the in-person. So Will Hicks,
Kara.
Modus Amalturk,
Yeah.
Vicky Gitanis,
Kara.
Michael Morrow,
Kara.
Wen Dang,
Kara.
Brian Davis,
Kara.
Kim Delaney, CJ Lan,
All right, Kara.
Aaron Hoffman,
Kara.
Kara Irwin Ferris,
Wynn.
Michael Rumpf,
Oh, Kara.
Michael Odell,
Kara.
Richard Pereira,
Kara.
Kim Glass Castro,
I'll go with the majority and go with Kara.
and then Kenny Wilson I have as absent. So we have a majority that voted for Kara as the new chair.
Thank you. Congratulations, Kara. And thanks to those 2 votes that I've received as well. I'm really excited for this 2020 year. So we are moving to the vice chair right now. Is there any nomination for vice chair? Vicky?
I nominate Mo.
Mo? Okay. Is there any other nominations virtually or in the room?
I don't see any hands raised virtually.
Okay, great. I second that. I think Mo did a really great job for the times that I was not available. I really, I respect Mo's expertise as vice chair. Yeah, so if we can do the reverse now and do the room, and then we'll go virtually.
Okay. Madam Chair, if there are no other nominations, it can just be
As is.
as is because there's no other nominations.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Congratulations, Mo.
Congratulations.
Okay. So moving on to item 2B. Right now, I'd like to invite Jason Price, the TPA tip coordinator, to present this item.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jason Price. I'm the tip coordinator for the Palm Beach TPA. Today, I'll present to you an action item that will require a vote. This is a consolidation of several different projects into one amendment, and I'll go over each project individually. This first project is at I-95 and North Lake Boulevard. You can see the existing and the proposed is on the bottom. The reason for this amendment is the consolidation of two projects into one project by putting a resurfacing project into this project. So it's basically consolidation of projects, and you can notice that by the length of the project has increased a bit to incorporate the addition. This next project is for Yemen River Bridge. This is a bridge replacement project, and the nature of this amendment is to add right-of-way phase. And there's some specific for the right-of-way phase is to acquire private property to allow for the installation and maintenance of riprap for scour protection, as well as excavating, constructing, and maintaining the bridge and the drainage structures. The following three projects are new projects that are added to the TIP. And the first two projects are adding lighting as a safety project at specific intersections that are listed in the description. The third new project is being built by Brightline with the addition of SU funds to support CRISI grant. And that is a rail safety project. That concludes the presentation on the 5 projects that are included in this amendment.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can you go back one slide?
Yes.
Please, thank you. I just want to point out to everybody virtually and in the room, the second item there, US 1 Broadway Avenue, 45th to 59th Street.
Yeah.
It is a result of our Vision Zero study. We've done an analysis and found the type of crashes that happens there. And we've been working diligently with FDOT to have this project program. So DOT was very generously perform a road safety audit on that section. And there are several recommendations that came out of it. And this is one of those recommendations. So I want to thank you on this project individually.
Yes, thank you, Wen. That was that information was provided, but I failed to include it. But that is also, yeah, that's part of the merits of the project as part of the Vision Zero. So thank you for that, Wen.
Okay. Yes, Kim.
I'm sorry, Kim, if you can speak into the microphone so the outside attendees can hear you.
Sorry about that. Even my playground voice doesn't work without this.
You have to get,
And then I do sanitize them so
inches
you can
away.
move them closer.
Red. All right, we'll try again. So question for you. What's the status of the lane repurposing, and does this project correlate to the lane repurposing there?
The lane repurposing is south of this. It's from 25th to 44th Street, not so much as to 45th Street. Um, Right now, what we have is an application to FDOT. I spent 4 years working on that project. After many reiteration, we have received no objection for the county for the traffic timing. We have received no objection from the town of Palm Beach and Riviera Beach. We have received no objection from our fire and police department. And right now, it's at DOT to make a decision. And we are hoping that they would make a supportive decision because it is on the East Coast Greenway Trail Network. It is on the TPA #1 priority. We've also voted as the county, as it is part of the penny sales referendum. So we have funding available and ready to begin. We also receive approximately $450,000 earmarked money from the legislature about 4 years ago. So this is something that we are pursuing. I don't have any more, I guess, status updates beyond that. It is really on DOT to make a decision whether they support the lane elimination or not. Because at this point, if it's going to turn out to be very similar to South Dixie and what we've seen, it's going to be very unfortunate because there's really no changes to the corridor for the foreseen future. That's where we're at.
Thanks. I just was curious.
Yeah, sure. Mo.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that you mentioned that the county has not objected to the signal timing. That's accurate. However, we had our opinion on the overall merits of the project in terms of the impact on traffic and level of service, etc. However, I did not know that we had the authority and or the privilege of objecting to the project. We are not party to it. We were asked to weigh in, and we did review the report, and we based on our review of the technical aspect of the report.
Right. So DOT have asked us to get a series of coordination, no objection, and that is part of our coordination efforts. And you're correct, not to the project, but we were asked to coordinate with the county for the signal timing because the county is maintaining all the signal in this area. Like this is one of those classic projects. More than 30% of the crashes along this section of corridor are pedestrian bicyclists. So it is something that we are pursuing. Right now we're reaching out there's a lot of local supports already in the businesses. So we are collecting additional support letters from all the businesses itself and all the adjacent property owners. I am hosting a very small, I guess, intimate virtual public workshop with children that lives in that area that goes to attend the school, Northborough Elementary School. And we are working with a nonprofit. We are inviting children and their families to participate to further understand what is the benefits of a slow streets and what are the changes that's being improved in this area. I did invite FDOT to participate with us because I think it will be beneficial for the community to see more of the stakeholders outside the city, because they've really only been seeing my face. I received general support from the CRA advisory board, the CRAB, like 2 A's, just last week. So we are continuing working on pursuing Kim on this project. The website is full of information. We've received public comments from our website as well. So we've been collecting information. This is something that we're not submitting and walking away. We're working with the community on a regular basis. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Are there any comments on the proposed amendment, the TIP amendment?
Madam Chair, I do not see any public comment that has come in,
Okay.
and I don't have any virtual hands raised at this time. I just want to double check.
Sure.
No, I don't have any virtual members with their hands raised.
Okay, so right now, we need a motion to adopt the amendment of the fiscal year 21 through 25 tip. And,
I make a motion to adopt.
okay. And then I believe I need a second before I open to discussion or the
Correct.
Second.
second. Are there any discussion points at this time? Virtually?
Again, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Hearing or seeing no further discussion, I'd like to have a motion. We have a motion by, I'm sorry.
We have a
Aaron.
motion by Aaron Hoffman and a second by Michael Lauderdale.
Okay, so right now, if we can start roll call virtually first. Sorry if that messed you up.
No, you're good. I'm gonna have to get used to it, unfortunately, so it's all good. Okay, so Terrence Bailey,
Yes.
Jim Bell,
Yes.
Jamie Brown,
Yes.
Alex Hansen,
Yes.
Joyce Kai,
Yes.
Christopher Marsh,
Yes.
Maria Tahara, I don't know if we lost Maria. It seems Maria left the meeting, so I will mark her as absent from this vote. Okay, Will Hicks,
Yes.
Modisum Alturk,
Yes.
Vicky Gatanis,
Yes.
Michael Morrow,
Yes.
Wen Dang,
So I like to recuse myself. I'm not sure if I am to vote on this item or not because it's connected to the tip itself. And since the city has always been non-supportive of any tip amendment due to, you know what?
So you would either need to vote opposed or yes or no, or if you're abstaining from voting, there's a form I will need you to complete.
I'd like to abstain from.
Okay, I will have a staff member pull up that
Absolutely.
form.
Thank you. I don't-
Madam Chair, if I could,
Can you turn your mic on?
if I could intervene for just a moment. The conflict of interest form is for a financial conflict of interest in the content matter that is presented for a recommendation. It is not a question of whether you dislike a project that is not part of the amendment item. So I'm not sure that the form would excuse you from your obligation to vote yes or no on this item.
Understood. No.
Okay, no. Brian Davis,
Yes.
Kim Delaney, CJ Lamb,
Yes.
Aaron Hoffman,
Yes.
Kara Irwin Ferris,
Yes.
Mike Rump,
Yes.
Michael Odell,
Yes.
Richard Pereira,
Yes.
Kim Glass Castro,
Yes.
and I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I just want to take a second to make sure that Maria Tahara didn't rejoin. No, okay. So it passes with 1 against.
Okay, great. Moving on to item number 3, information item. I'd like to invite Jessica Jocelyn, the TPA consultant from Kittleson and Associates, to present this item.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Are we good?
Just spiral that.
Oh. Thank you for having me here this morning while we're cleaning things off. Just a reminder, and I know it's shared in the agenda, we are going to go through a agreement summary related to the FEC Brightline stations throughout South Florida. This was a direct request from your board. There is no backup at the moment, as it states in your agenda. We're actually actively working on preparing a full report, and that will be shared with partners today for review, and your board will be getting that full report later this month. So just want to let you know that that is pending. And I did want to thank FDOT, SFRTA, Miami-Dade County, and Brightline for helping us gather all the information related to these stations. So I was actually surprised. I see all the articles going around, but there's a lot going on with Brightline, as you see here. There are 18 projects that we researched in total, 15 stations, specifically with the lion's share in Miami-Dade County, and then 3 connections between the South Florida Railroad Corridor and the Florida East Coast Railway. And just in summary with these stations, all involved collaboration and stakeholder consensus in some form of negotiation or transaction between public and private partners. 4 of the stations have formal agreements in place that I'm going to be walking through in a bit more detail, but those are Boca, Aventura, the Tri-Rail Downtown Miami Link, and then the Smart Plan corridors between Aventura and downtown Miami. I'll go through in a bit more detail, but just want to let you know, in general, those agreements, the stations run about $50 to $70 million, pending if there's extra components beyond a station, like a pedestrian bridge or tracking improvements. And then 3 of these stations have some form of give and take, also part of it that I wanted to mention, and that's at the West Palm Beach station, Port Miami, and the Treasure Coast. There are development incentives, tax credits, and also specific to Treasure Coast, you'll see a settlement agreement where there's been a decision to ensure a station in that area. So lots going on throughout the region. So now getting into a bit more detail in the existing and under construction stations and connections. This is probably your most familiar station, given where we are located. So this is the West Palm Beach Brightline station. Brightline purchased the land for $3.8 million. Brightline did receive credits from the city, as you see there. And as you know, we're using the station and there's development in, so it's an exciting station to report to you guys. And then, of course, the Boca Raton station that has broken ground for construction. That was at $46 million. For those that aren't aware, again, you're probably familiar with this project given your location, but the city contributed about $16 million from a Department of Transportation grant, and the city is leasing the property to Brightline. Some interesting facts on Boca that I wanted to note is the parking garage that you see there on the slide. And also there's a community garden that was part of the agreement for the Boca station, and Brightline's agreed to relocate that community garden. So that was nice to see as part of that. And also I wanted to note for the Boca station, Tri-Rail is not precluded from entering that station into the future. So Brightline did agree to make sure everything was compatible with them for future access. Now, Fort Lauderdale Station, we have about the limited amount of knowledge on Fort Lauderdale. There was no agreement that Brightline could share with me because they either purchased or owned the land. So for those that haven't gone to the Fort Lauderdale Station, it's 60,000 square feet in downtown, just north of Broward Boulevard, next to the Broward County Transit Terminal. And there is a nice size park and ride there that I wanted to highlight to you all. Next is the Aventura Station, which is hot in the news. So that is about $76.7 million. And the reason that's a bit more expensive is because it includes a pedestrian bridge. As you see, the station is located west of the Aventura Mall. So there's quite a facility, US 1, that folks will have to cross to get to the mall, that they wanted to make sure that pedestrian bridge was in place. There is a lease agreement related to the pedestrian bridge and also to the station between Brightline and the county. Interesting for this, the 3-acre property that the station's being built on was an $18 million purchase, and it went through Brightline, and the county bought it back from Brightline for $10. And they're actually anticipating 400 jobs during construction at this site, and the county is projecting an economic benefit of $90.8 million a year. So as you see, they invested some money here through their surtax at about 57.4 million plus the 18 million, but they are anticipating billions of dollars in return over a 30-year time period. Now for the downtown Miami Central Station, we don't have a lot of financial information on this one as well because it was a purchase that Brightline did on their own, but just wanted to remind folks that there are 5 tracks at this station because Tri-Rail is hoping to have access there at some point. It was designed and built for Tri-Rail to have access, and you'll see on a future slide why they're not yet operational there if you aren't already familiar. And here I just wanted to remind folks, if you haven't been down to that station, that there is quite a significant amount of development that Brightline did at this location. And here you see at the bottom of the slide, it was a 9-acre development, mixed use, and a lot of activity going on. Now for the Tri-Rail Downtown Miami Link Station that I noted, this was an investment between SFRTA and Brightline, and here you see the numbers, about $50 million of improvements, and then the $16 million for the Tri-Rail trackage improvements for the Iris link that I'll be talking about in a moment. And here the issue why it's not coming in is because of positive train control that I'll be talking about in a minute. They're still waiting for that to be approved by the Federal Rail Administration to have access. Sorry, my clicker is... So for the Northwood connection, jumping back to the north and getting into the connections, so that's in your neck of the woods. And again, this is connecting the South Florida Rail Corridor to the FEC corridor. There was a Tiger grant that helped in getting that constructed and also a contribution from SFRTA. I spoke with FDOT. As you know, this is constructed, but it is not operational. So it is an active rail line, but it's not carrying trains at this time. For an update on the Iris Little River connection, as I was saying, we're waiting on the positive train control approval in order for Tri-Rail to come into the Miami Central Station. And as a reminder, this project involves $17 million of upgrades and construction from SFRTA. So that walked through the existing and under construction. So now getting into the actively under negotiation and discussion stations. This information was a little bit harder to get just because they are active under negotiation. So first is the Smart Plan Northeast corridor stations. And actually, as of November 20th, the Miami-Dade Commission approved the access fee of $12 million and an initial payment of $50 million to start planning for the 6 different Smart Plan stations between Aventura and downtown Miami. An initial proposal from Brightline for 5 of those 6 stations was around $350 million. So again, we're in that $70 million range for stations. And on the Smart Plan, I did want to note that Tri-Rail has also been part of the discussions and would like to submit a proposal to offer service through those stations. So we'll see over time how that pans out. The Port of Miami, or Port Miami Station as they call themselves, it almost appears as if this is a done deal because of how it's displayed on the Brightline website. But actually speaking with Brightline representatives, this is still under active negotiation. The proposed location of the Port Miami Station would be at Terminal H that you see right there on the west end of the port area. And there is a negotiation going on regarding what the county would receive for giving Brightline access to this station over time. And then wrapping up with the future locations of interest for stations or connections. Treasure Coast stations, as I noted, there was a lawsuit in Martin County regarding this station location. That lawsuit, of course, was not shared with me. It's not public knowledge, the settlement agreement details. However, I did just want to note that the terms did include splitting the cost of building at least one train station, including safety upgrades, and it's likely the location would be in Stewart. So Kim, we're looking for you to root for that one.
I would just suggest, I don't know that the city of Fort Pierce concurs. And so as you present going forward, there's no decision that's been made. So they're equal contenders
Okay.
formally, as has been expressed to us by Brightline.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because news, I didn't say in the beginning, so our sources beyond the partners we spoke with was also news articles, and sometimes it can be weighing in one direction versus another. So we'll make sure the report reflects that, because Fort Pierce was mentioned.
If I was reading tea leaves, I would concur.
Yeah.
But there could well be two stations according to Brightline's discussions. And so,
Great.
you know, your map may want to shift down and show both of those locations.
Great.
And I have a copy of the settlement agreement, so I can send that to you.
Oh,
So you have it.
great. Excellent.
So yeah, that was it was circulated at some point. It also includes, by the way, Brightline will fund the any additional costs. Brightline will fund any additional costs for quiet zones in Martin County as part of that agreement.
Yep. Great.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that was part of the safety upgrades component. So we will add that detail in. Thank you.
Sure.
And then for Broward County, this is actually very active right now. There's a memorandum of understanding being prepared between FDOT District 4 and Broward County in terms of moving forward with the PD&E study that went on hold. And as a reminder, for getting Brightline and the Tri-Rail Coastal Link project through Broward County, the New River Crossing in downtown Fort Lauderdale has historically been an issue. The city of Fort Lauderdale was really wanting a tunnel for the train to go under through the river. And that is not environmentally really feasible given the amount of development in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So there's a lot of constraints that just didn't make that feasible. So it kind of became dormant. But with the surtax that passed in Broward County, now that they have local funding, that option has been brought back to the table, not necessarily to do a tunnel, but to look at other alternatives. And since it went dormant, the city has stated that they're open to looking at other options to getting across the river. Rumor is that they may be back to wanting the tunnel, so stay tuned. We will see how this goes, but it's looking hopeful that a study will move forward and that we're getting a bit more consensus across the stakeholders in Broward County. And then for the Pompano Beach connection, there may have been rumors that this is done and good to go, but it actually was not constructed and there's no ongoing study at the moment. It's pretty dormant. The property owner along the area of Atlantic Boulevard where they wanted to have the connection was not interested in being a part of the process. So we'll see. Again, markets always change, people change their minds. But right now, this is a dormant project according to FDOT. So with that, I appreciate you listening. And again, we'll be sharing the report with all the details with partners, similar to what Kim just shared, to make sure we're not missing information or misinforming anyone based on what's online and what we're reading versus what's actually occurring. And that will include Brightline as well, who reviews it.
Okay, great, thank you. I see Jim Bell raised his hand virtually.
Yes, I just want to provide some clarification on the status of the Boca Raton Brightline station. Basically what happened is the city has approved a lease agreement for the station to be on city-owned downtown library property. However, the project still hasn't received development approval yet. It's in our process. It probably will be scheduled to a planning zoning board meeting very soon and then to the city council meeting, but however, it actually hasn't received its formal development approval. And then in terms of breaking ground, it has broken ground in terms of clearing the existing community garden that's on that property, as was mentioned. But there hasn't been any other kind of clearing of the property yet until they receive the development approval from the city council.
Thank you. I appreciate making sure that that's clear in the report.
Okay, thank you. I see Vicky first and then Kim, please.
Just to add a little information
It's time to leave.
on, yeah, have that effect. Excuse me. To add a little information on the downtown Miami link, the PTC completion, that's really with bright lines, and
Right.
they need to complete their technical work on that and then get approval from FEC to get the federal approval. And then in order for Tri-Rail SFRTA to enter into the station, the agency has to be invited by Brightline. And to date, SFRTA has met all of its deadlines for PTC. So that's basically where it stands at this point.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may. Vicky, I was curious on the Tri-Rail website, it's suggesting an opening in mid-2021, but I didn't in the report want to suggest an opening date just because I know what you just stated, there hasn't really been a concrete deadline or target on Brightline's side. So I left it a bit open-ended.
Exactly. And so the agency hesitates to keep setting
Right.
times when it's really dependent on Brightline and FEC. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Out to Kim and then Mo.
I'll get very close to the mic this time. So 2 questions for you, Jess. Thank you. It was a great presentation. And just for the benefit of the committee, we have a passenger rail transit update on the Planning Council agenda for the January meeting. Brightline scheduled to present. Tri-Rail will provide an update as well. So just a heads up to you. So just because the council has been obviously engaged in the discussion in different ways. With respect to station listings, one question is about the Palm Beach Gardens station. And I don't know what is the filter to add a station to the presentation that you have. As you might recall, the city of Palm Beach Gardens had a very successful station area planning process that concluded with a recommended station location just south of the PGA overpass. There's a developer, Dan Catafumo, who's actually taken the concepts from that and brought to the city a live proposal for a pretty substantial TOD in that location. Both the developer and the city have been in contact with Brightline to advance the station discussions in that location, and the site's being designed to accommodate it. And so it's a recommendation that came out of that TOD planning effort that was actually funded through a grant with the SFRTA. And so I can brief you offline about that, but as you present going forward, I'm quite sure the board, when you get to the board discussion, that'll be a station that'll come up. And so that's one to just add for your awareness, and we can talk offline. And the other is, over time, I thought there was discussion about a Fort Lauderdale International Station as well. And I don't know, I didn't see that referenced, so I didn't know what the status was.
Yeah, that did not come up in our search, but let me look into it and chat with the executive director and James, who is working with me on this, to see if that's worth kind of researching and pulling in.
Super. And then also, we have assembled there's a map I'll send to you that's in a kind of the assemblage of all the potential stations, if you will. And it includes going to the north. There's a station location up near State Road 528. Of course, there's press that was just released with the Disney Springs station being selected. Yep. There's a Lakeland site that's being talked about. So I'll send you a copy of that map. We've circulated it a few times, and Brightline has not. You can utilize it as you like. Brightline has reviewed it also and not offered any additional comments other than what we have. So it's a good assemblage, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And yes, I'll also work with TPA staff to see if we want to go north of where we are right now.
Yes,
but
sure.
I think it's good to at least reference the connection.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys. That's very helpful.
All right, Mo?
Thank you. I'm not sure that you will be able to answer this question or not, but it seems like there are going to be building awfully a lot of stations. And I thought initially Brightline pitch was that they are going to be, a fast, train and etc. I wonder if you had any information and if that came up at all the discussion of the addition of so many stations and its impact on the feasibility of this service at all?
That did not come up in our research discussions. In some of the agreements and articles online, you do hear about the frequency and headways of trains and cost of tickets and things like that. But speed and travel time was not part of that. But I'm happy to go back and work with James to see if there's a way to identify that information if it's important to the group to know that.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you brought that up because, for example, if we take Brightline from downtown West Palm to Miami, it's an hour and 15. If all these stations are in place, you do have to slow down every time you pass a station, even if it's a, not a connection point. There's still speed requirements per each station. So how's that going to affect travel time? Yeah, that's really interesting.
Ideally, though, in the long term, given the congestion we can anticipate that will continue to increase in Southeast Florida, it would still be a very competitive option, just personal opinion. But it would be good to chat with Brightline about that to see if there's been any analysis that I can share.
It sounds like, it's becoming another tri-rail, when you have so many stops along the route. So, I mean.
Yeah, but I also think that having ridden trains in all over the world, whether if it's Germany or Japan, the connection is valuable.
Yeah. Agree. It is a regional vision that we've had for decades. Is it safe to say, Kim or others?
I was going to go ahead and jump in. Sure. I mean, we've been, since we were asked to leave the FEC corridor in 1968 with passenger rail, we've been trying to get back on the corridor, right? So I think the demand has been pretty long-standing. The only thing to suggest is that even if there are interim stations, there's probably going to be skip-stop service because not every station is going to demand enough ridership for regular 16 trains a day in each, 32 trains a day in both directions. So that's when Flagler's railroad, just for perspective, when Flagler ran the Flagler Railroad from Jacksonville to Miami, there were 86 stations between Jacksonville and Miami. So it's 350 miles, right? Not every train stopped at every station. Every station got a train at some point, but like the Bunnell station, it got like 2 trains, 3 trains a day. So a Stewart station isn't going to have the same demand characteristics as a Fort Lauderdale station, right? So, but if you're Stewart, if you're getting 2 or 3 trains a day in each direction, it's game changing. So that's one of the things to think about with respect to the service, in our opinion, anyway, as we look at it, is that there's high demand every train stop stations like downtown West Palm. And then there are these kind of secondary and tertiary stations that have limited service, but that still provides access. So they get an economic development boost. They're not as expensive. They don't need the same infrastructure. So there's a balance. So we're very happy to see the number of stations being spread. I would suggest the cities are too. So it's encouraging.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Are there any further discussion at this time? Christina, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Moving on to number 3B, Jason Price again to present on this item.
Morning, everyone. So I'm going to go over the obligation report, which is an annual event as part of the TIP is reporting the funds that have been spent in the fiscal year 2020. And so just to start, I wanted to let you know exactly what the obligation report is, and it's the federal government's promise to pay back the state for federal funds on a project. So when a project is constructed, sometimes there's a reimbursement, and that's what you'll see here in this obligation report. This first slide is just the TIP sections listed out in terms of what was programmed in the TIP for fiscal year 20 and what was obligated or spent, and then the difference. The final column is the de-obligated amounts, and that's just the funds that have not been spent on those particular projects in that tip section. There's a few different slides here that list all of the projects. They're also listed in your agenda packet as well and listed online. But there's two distinctions really. The first one, what you'll see is the columns on the right. The fiscal year 20 tip request, that's the amount that was listed in the tip for that year. And fiscal year 20 is the obligations or the amount that was spent for that project. To note that there's a lot of funds that are missing in the tip for fiscal year 20, but there's considerable amounts in obligations, and there's a variety of reasons for that. But one to note is advanced construction funds that are in previous tips or earlier years of the project when it is paid for through state funds and then reimbursed through federal funds. And so that's why you see the different significant differences for the project. This goes through, and so there was a cutoff for the amount of the number of projects that I'm highlighting here, and that's projects with a difference of over 500,000, either plus or minus. So this is proceeds through the list until you get to the amounts that, the negative amounts that that show a difference between what was programmed in the tip, but not necessarily spent. And so those are also some of the differences to highlight. But in a nutshell, that is what the obligation report is. If you have any questions, I can.
I believe Mo has a question.
Sure.
So we have, sometimes we de-obligate. When do we do that?
When do we de-obligate?
You know, you have a column for, first, let's go to the first slide.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have, programmed in tip, and then you have obligated, and you have de-obligated. When do we de-obligate? Is it when a project gets canceled or when?
I think there's no single answer to that. I believe it's just funds that have not been spent on the projects. But I'll look to my right and left if any.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so when we see an obligations are the agreement for them to reimburse with federal funds, right? So you haven't spent it down yet. So what you'll see in a de-obligation is funds that were obligated, but they weren't totally spent on the project. The reasons for those can be many. I'm not sure. Hopefully, I don't want to call it FDOT if FDOT has any examples of what may happen for de-obligations.
So this is not that you did not spend it on that particular year, but you will need to carry it over to the subsequent year because of the scheduling of the project, actual construction, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to let John Podzawinski from FDOT. He's going to provide a little more additional information.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Jason. I can give you the answer in a nutshell. I can't give you specifics on every project that's up there. But oftentimes what it is when funding is allocated to a project, we use state funding to make sure to keep the project on track. That's the AC funding. That AC funding goes in the current year that it's shown in the tip. That then gets reimbursed by federal funds that don't always come in within the same federal fiscal year. Those federal fund reimbursements may be stretched out over time. So when it comes to de-obligated, I don't know that there are projects that are actually de-obligated. They're just not obligated within the year that they're originally programmed in the tip, if that helps to explain. So basically we're borrowing for our own state pocket with the promise that federal funds will come in to reimburse that over a longer period of time.
But the obligation is a federal money, right? The federal money obligation, or that includes state money as well?
No, these are federal fund obligations.
I think it's balancing it to make it work. Where, and if I'm reading this correctly, a project may stretch, construction, let's say, may stretch over several years. So, when we do our budgeting, we look at this year and what we do and don't have. And sometimes you have to project out what your future funds may be. You might have to, for example, in our city, we, like a lot of these grant projects, we have to budget within, we have to borrow from ourselves because it is a kind of a reimbursement program. So I think what the deobligation means is just a projection in the future, and they have to dip into other funding to make the budget whole.
So they basically de-obligated in that year and they re-obligate it in
Yeah.
some subsequent year.
Yeah,
That's
kind of
what
like how we open POs every year. I'm guessing, so.
So just so you know, I mean, you'd have to look at each specific project, what the case is, but a lot of these funds, it might be that we anticipated spending 4 million in right-of-way this year. We didn't get to the right-of-way phase of the negotiations, so it's showing up as the de-obligated for this fiscal year. That doesn't mean that it's not being done. So in the following year, there's going to be right-of-way. So some of it is like a roll forward, if you will.
Okay, Kim?
Question, I noticed there's under obligated transit funds, there's a reference to the Tri-Rail Northern Layover Facility. So is that project just moving forward in time? We haven't touched on that one in a while.
Can you go back to that slide?
Page 32. So I think it's the last chart in the slide package. It's on the website. There's.
Are you able to bring that up?
So it's in the agenda package on the website?
Yep, so we'll have to bring it up on the,
Okay.
on
Or
the
just
agenda
the
packet on
status
website.
of that. I just see there's a reference, there's a $500,000 reference for the Tri-Rail Northern Labor Facility. So is that one just moving forward in time? Ian, just curious.
Vicky, maybe we'll pause on that while you guys, while staff pulls up the page 32.
Great.
And then we'll go to Vicky and we'll come back to you. Is that okay, Kim?
Sure.
Well, I know the project's been advertised, so it's moving forward. I'm not exactly sure fiscal year 20 obligations, so 500,000, but that is just a portion of the total project cost, right? So, and I have to admit, I've never worked with the obligation summary before. I'm not really sure what the purpose of it is. It just means that these are the funds for fiscal year 20 that were obligated for the project. That were, and were spent. Okay.
Federal funds.
Federal funds only.
Yeah.
So it's just tracking the funds, the federal funds that were spent on projects for fiscal year 20.
Well, I know there were, internally designed, there was design work on it, but I don't know exactly where all dollars were spent on it this year. Sorry. I do know the project has just been advertised, so it's moving forward.
Advertised for construction?
Correct.
Okay.
Design build.
Thank you. Kim, does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Are there any discussion? Anybody raised their hands virtually?
I don't see any hands raised, Madam Chair.
Okay. So I guess at this time we can, thank you so much, Jason. Item 4, administrative item. This is information items only. Are there any
Yes.
presentation or anything to report?
No, Madam Chair, on all of the administrative items, those are all informational. We will only make a presentation if a committee member has a question. I don't see that there's any hands raised, and we didn't get any public comments ahead of time on any of these items.
Okay, thank you. I see Andrew has his card up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to point out on 4B, which is the FDOT product scheduling report. We typically request this from FDOT to beginning every month, and then they send us this scheduling report and basically every product in our county and the status of those and the upcoming milestones. And it's a pretty large report. What we did this time is instead of including the entirety of every single milestone, we tried to reorganize it based on TPA priorities, and then we only put in the milestones that we felt were most relevant for you all and the citizens. So you'll see a new setup for that. So I'd like you guys to look through it in your leisure time, whatever. And if you have any more feedback on it to make it better, just let us know, and we'd love to make it a more useful product for you all.
Yeah, I did skim through that report and looked at the milestone. It was very helpful that you guys made it really bold so you can see the upcoming activities of the dates. I see that there was, one project in particular that of interest to me is in City of Lake Worth, there's a roundabout project down there. And I see that there's a public information meeting that is upcoming in January. Where do I find more information on that? Do I contact FDOT? Yes?
Yes, I believe also in the report, we do also have the product managers as the
Okay.
last field. And if you guys have problems figuring out who to contact, you can always contact our staff.
Right.
But the product manager should be listed right there. And then if you always Google, I think 411 FDOT or 411 Florida, you can put in their last name and you can find their contact information through that directory on the state website.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, and I believe that's Umberto's project, and it's essentially a resurfacing of the roundabout heading into the Lake Worth.
Yeah.
So if you give him a call, I don't know if he has a project website set up for it yet, but he can certainly.
I don't think I found a project website just because we're doing a lot of roundabouts on the roundabouts committee for the NUTCD, trying to look at different roundabouts, especially in Florida, and see how we can improve recommendations. So yeah, I'm very interested. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to, so no administrative items update. I believe we're concluding our meeting. We're at the end of our meeting. And before Mo put on his jackets, Mo, I thought it was really interesting that you have a status on all the traffic projection in the county as the pandemic. And I know we're 9 months in. Do you have any updated information on that?
No, actually, we stopped counting because traffic has stabilized over the last 2 months or so. We are at a point where we are about 10 to 15% below the pre-pandemic, levels. So we stopped tracking it at this point. But we did last time. I think I presented or tried to present it, and I was not able to put up the graph. But we created a graph showing also that there is a good, strong correlation between crashes and traffic volumes, and we showed that the relationship is not linear. It's almost exponential for a moderate drop in traffic volumes. We had significant drop in crashes.
Okay, thank you so much. One last update before we leave. The City of West Palm Beach is launching what we call a Smart Loading Zone pilot program. It is digital curb, turning our curb for loading and unloading, specifically targeting Amazon's, FedEx, UPS. And we are piloting the project in Rosemary Square, the new city place. It is all going to be digital curbs, so you can download the app and reserve your curb space beforehand. And it is very dynamic. We are proposing to install sensors. We are working with Cord, and if you guys haven't heard of Cord, they are backed by Alphabet Ventures, which is just really excited. So we're going to be launching that project early January, mid-January. It's going to give us a dashboard to see how not only traffic projection, but see how people use the curbside itself and look at utilization. Ultimately, this is a 1-year pilot program. If and when it is successful, we are planning to expanding this throughout the downtown and hopefully as a model for South Florida. So, oh yes, Mo.
You just reminded me, there's one more thing I think, I can report. This is for the interest of this group. Palm Beach County now is in the process of designing and installing a free Wi-Fi access to in the low-income neighborhoods to help the disadvantaged children get, access to the online education. And we are trying to work with FDOT to get their approval for the county to use and utilize some of the excess fiber capacity in the traffic network system for this purpose. And it's coming along well, and it will include mounting some radios on some of the traffic signal mast arms and or street light poles and or setting up new poles for that purpose. And it will be providing, as I said, free Wi-Fi to all people, targeting those areas with low income.
Yeah, I think that's really great. Thank you so much.
It's throughout the county. They have identified the locations where the students live and they in families with low income. And there's a map that I can share with you if you care. Just drop me an email and I can forward that to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I have data layers that it could help the county also if and when, City of West Palm Beach would be considered. We have all those data layer that can help make those decisions. So I see that everybody has put their jackets on. Thank you so much. It's been a really, really great year. I really appreciate everybody having me and supporting me through this year. This is going to be my last TAC meeting as chair and also as part of the committee. So I'll be contacting you guys to nominate somebody else to sit on the TAC. And that's the reason why I cannot accept the nomination. I really appreciate everybody's time. But I guess meeting's adjourned. Thank you so much. We're gonna hit the gravel one last time, okay?
Thank you for your service.